Well guys, I finally did it. I got an actual mic swivel thing, so I don't have to hold it anymore. I'm now a real professional YouTuber. But anyway, welcome back to my YouTube channel where, for reasons I'm going to get into in a future video, I've been getting really into guitar pedals. So my goal the past couple of weeks has been to find a distortion pedal that I like as much as the Neural DSP Archetype Gojira. Because that is my absolute favorite plugin. It's my go-to, like, jamming at home plugin, or like when I'm writing something, I pull up the Gojira plugin. It's my absolute favorite. My original plan was I'll buy a pedal, try it, compare it, see if I like it. If not, send it back. But then I thought, what if I got all of them at the exact same time? So that's exactly what I did. I have 5 pedals to shoot out against the Archetype Gojira plugin. So today you're going to see the Friedman BOD, the MXR 5150, the Revv G3 and G4, and the Amptweaker Type Metal Pro 2. I've heard a lot of great things about all of these pedals. I've seen tons of demos, but the problem with all the demos I've seen is that everyone's using so many different ways to get their sound into their computer. So some people are going through like a power amp with a tube amp. So that's going to affect the sound a ton. There's not many people who play what I play who run the way I do, at least in the demos I've seen. So with that, I just knew I had to get the pedals in my own hands and like try them and run them through my setup and see exactly how it's going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one pedal at a time. I basically have already matched the pedals tonally as much to the Archetype Gojira as I could. So I'm going to my Jackson DLA6, and that's going to go, I have one cable that runs into the Sentry Noise Gate and the Eris Savage Drive into whatever pedal I'm using, and that's going out of that to the input of a Seymour Duncan Power Stage 500, and that's going out of the balance out of that into my interface over here. Well, I'm hoping that it gets a little bit of power amp coloration because that just seems to make things sound better. I don't know if the Power Stage bypasses the power amp entirely when going out of the balanced out. But I'm hoping it just adds kind of a little something to kind of give it some edge, I guess. I don't know. Tone's stupid and weird. I don't know why I'm talking about this. So I do want to say I'm going to try my best to give it a fair shot. I've got a boost and gate on the Gojira. I've got a boost and gate going in. The only exception is going to be for the MXR 5150 that has a gate in it. So I'm going to turn the gate off of the Sentry because if I put this on a board, I would not have a gate. I just use the MXR's gate. And for the Amptweaker, which has a gate and a boost in it. So I don't really need to throw those in front, so I'm not going to. I actually tried to put a boost from the Amptweaker to see how it goes, and it doesn't take boost well. Before we get to demoing all the pedals, I do want to say it would really help me out if you liked this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more music gear content. I know I don't post that often. When I do, I would like a lot of people to see it because I feel like I'm doing. The only reason I make a video is because it's something that doesn't already exist. So if you like the kind of music I write and the content I make, like and subscribe, share with your friends, leave a comment, and yeah, without further ado, let's do it. If you just want to hear what each pedal sounds like back to back against the plugin, here's the time code for that. It's at the end of the video if you just want to see kind of what each pedal sounds like compared to each other. So basically how I did this is I took my favorite preset that I made in the Gojira plugin and I tried to make the pedal match that tone as close as I could. To see if it can do it, because if it can do it, then that's really what I'm looking for, and ideally it could do a little bit more and sound a little bit better. So we're going to get started. Without further ado, here's the Revv G3 pedal. Sounds pretty freaking great. Now here's that same riff through the Archetype Gojira. The Gojira has kind of like this scooped, like it's not scooped, but it sounds scooped. Does that make sense? I don't know. It has just like a different tone to it. It's very aggressive and very awesome. That's why I love it. And I think the Revv gets very close. I'd say they both feel about equally as aggressive. I'm getting that kind of same vibe. One thing I will say, I have the high dialed all the way up. Like it's maxed out on the high to kind of match where the Gojira is at. So it has nowhere left to go. I would be concerned about that normally if it was the only thing I was using, but I'm going to be going into like a power amp simulating type pedal if I go forward with the pedal thing. So that's going to have a presence knob, so I'm not worried about lacking high end. It does sound more alive, I think, compared to the plugin. It sounds a little bit less sterile, and that's a good thing. I like that. So we're going to move on to the next pedal. All right, so now I've got the MXR EVH 5150 plugin, plugged in. So without further ado, we're gonna play through that, and the Savage drive is on with the gate off because there's a gate built into the EVH. So let's go. Alright, I mean, it sounds good. I'm noticing kind of like a pillowiness to it and like kind of a not enough presence, but let's throw on the Gojira and see what the difference is. Alright, Gojira. I think the big problem is there's kind of like a pillowy kind of lack of presence. Again, a lot of the controls are near max. The treble is all the way up. The mid is almost all the way up. There's a lot of low end in this pedal, which is good. That's why I have the bass dialed in so low. And even the boost on it, it's more of just like a signal pad. Like it just boosts like I think, the amount of energy coming out of the pedal, not like a tube screamer in front type boost. So it's not really hitting right for me. Moving on to the next pedal, we're going to try the BEOD. Alright, we've got the Friedman hooked up, and if it's noisy, that's because I have the gain dialed all the way up to kind of match the energy of the Gojira. So if that annoys you, bummer, it annoys me too. So it's the gate, the Savage drive, and the Friedman. So let's hear how that sounds. It sounds really good. I really do like this pedal. I did try this one in the store, and I tried it out against a couple others. I'll do like a little honorable mentions later, but I really like this pedal. But let's compare it to the Gojira and see what's up. Alright, here's the Archetype Gojira. Alright, so I like the Friedman. I think the problem is there's nowhere left to go on it. I've got the gain this is on the high gain channel, so the green channel. I've got the gain all the way up, the presence all the way up, and the treble all the way up. They're kind of in the same, I think, frequency space. Like they've got their levels are kind of matched in the highs and like the mids and the lows. So I think they're comparable, but there's just nowhere left to go on the Friedman. It has like a very natural sound. It sounds like very realistic and like feels good. It's got more of the kind of three-dimensional sound, versus I think the plugin is sounding a little like, it sounds like two-dimensional, if that makes sense. Coming from like a guy who's been digital for most everything, like it's really interesting that I'm enjoying the kind of analog sound, and it's very like it feels so much more alive. I've said already, like alive, three-dimensional compared to the plugin. I love how the plugin sounds, but it's just got something to it. I think mostly because it's a big pedal, and because I'm kind of having to max it out to get it where I want it for the styles I play, and then I'd have to have a gate and I'd have to have a boost because the tight switch is not doing it. I'd pick the Revv over the Friedman for, I don't know, it was just easier to get where I want it to be with more space left on the board. Friedman, great pedal, and we're going to move on to the next pedal. Alright, now I've got the Revv G4 plugged in, and we're going to compare that to the Archetype Gojira. So here is the Revv G4. Alright, so that was that. It sounds very meaty, a lot of energy in like the low end and low mids and stuff. So now the Archetype. I feel like the G4, like the Gojira's like low end and like low mids is like a more compressed version of the G4's low end and low mids. Because I heard a lot of similarity in like I guess how loud each part of the frequency spectrum was. but it just wasn't sounding as clear. It sounds more like kind of pillowy, mushy, whatever like tone buzzword you want to use on the Revv, and it kind of just cleaned up on the Archetype. Again, I have the high maxed out, and there's less high end on this than on the G3. So I think for me, I'd pick the G3 over this. Again, the aggression modes are great. I think I'm in the top mode. But yeah, I'd go with the G3 for what I play. I've heard that some people have like a G3 for like rhythm and a G4 for lead, and I totally understand that and see that, because this would really thicken up like a kind of like a thin lead tone. So yeah, good pedal. G3 is better for me. And without further ado, we're going to move on to the Amptweaker Type Metal, which I've been really excited about. Alright, we're on to our final pedal, and it is the Amptweaker Type Metal Pro 2. This is a pedal that I guess is kind of mythical for me, because when I first heard the first Type Metal, the Type Metal Pro, like when that first one came out, I thought it was like the gnarliest, like coolest pedal that sounded so good and like better than any other pedal like a high gain pedal I've heard. So when the 2 came out and had all these features, it basically has all the other pedals I've been using built in, which is why I've bypassed them completely. It's got a gate in it, it's got a mid boost in it, it's got a tight in it, which is basically what a tube screamer is doing, the tightness and the mid boost. So I don't need the other pedals. And it's got a ton of other features, like it has elements of like the Fat Metal Pro in it too on the side with some like dip switches, and then it's got a balanced out. So if you just play like high gain, you could take just this pedal and like that's all you would need, because it's got a balanced out with cab sims on it. So you can just throw that, go direct. It's got effects loops on it if you want to throw like a delay or reverb in front or in between. It's got power amp simulation, so you get resonance and presence. Like, that's a huge plus for me. Like, those have always been necessities for me to have on an amp or like a pedal or anything. So without further ado, after me tying it up, let's hear the Type Metal Pro 2. And now we're going to compare that to the Gojira plugin, so let's do that. So one thing about what I've done on the Type Metal is there's still room left to go. There's not much. I've got everything dialed pretty high, but there's still presence left to grab. There's still gain left on tap. Versus me maxing out at least one other setting on every other pedal to kind of match the level of the Neural DSP Gojira. And it just roars like differently than the other pedals did. I think the Revv G3 also has that capability, but I had the mids dialed back, so it could roar just like that, I think, like this pedal. But matching the Gojira, I think I matched it and it sounds better, which is awesome. So based on that, I'm really liking the Revv G3 and the Type Metal Pro 2 the most. And I would put them on a board over going digital. As someone who's like a Line 6, stan, who's been like using the Helix forever and always going back to the Helix. So I kind of want to shoot out the Revv and the Type Metal and see what that's like. So I'm going to do that really fast, actually. Alright, things look a little wonky over there, but I'm going to shoot out the Revv with all the pedals in front and then the Type Metal on its own. So let's see how that is. Here's the Revv with all the pedals. And now the Amptweaker on its own. Okay, so I think they're pretty... Okay, so the thing is, I have to use 3 pedals to get the sound of just the Amptweaker. I think they sound really close, but I'm liking the Revv more because of the other pedals, I think. Being able to put the Savage drive or any other drive I want in front can really affect the sound. Like, it sounds much more aggro to me because I think the bite control on the Savage drive is doing a lot of work. I could, in theory, throw that in front of the Type Metal Pro 2, but I tried throwing it in front and turning the boost off and like messing with it, and it just did not sound as good. It took a lot of like the low end out in like a bad way. It just sounded not unnatural. Like I think it's clearly designed to be an all-in-one thing. So it's tough. Like, do you want kind of the flexibility of like any pedal, like throwing in as many individual pedals as possible, or like it's all right there? Like the Type Metal Pro 2's got everything. So for me, it's between those two, and it's kind of like, how do I want to set a board up? Do I want just this thing and then have some extra real estate, or should I just throw the you know, Revv and a drive and a gate in front? I don't know. I haven't really decided, but it's definitely between those. And with that, thanks for watching. This was fun. If you liked it, please like this video, share it with people who love pedals too. Subscribe if you want to see more random sporadic YouTube updates that I end up doing. And yeah, with that, until the next video.